Hi, welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tips podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co host, and
Karen.
we are live on a Wednesday, ready to talk to you about the world and podcasting and life and all that good stuff. Very special Wednesday because the Switch 2 comes out.
Yes, it does.
And even though our economy is terrible, apparently everyone can afford one because they were ran out, and I don't know if I'm gonna get one. And I'm afraid to go wait at midnight
Night. Yeah, me
in front of
too.
GameStop. So I
Yeah, I
think
was
I might
thinking.
not be getting one, guys. And of course, the other reason it's a special day is because I found out right before we went on the air that they're making a sequel to the movie Ma. I don't know if you remember this movie.
Yes, I do.
It's not really.
I
So I don't think it's
remember.
considered a classic, but I liked it
Mm-mm,
a lot.
I did too.
And so we got that green lit. So it's just great news is happening all over the place. And we're not alone.
No.
We have a guest, as you can probably tell from either like the way we titled this episode later with some cool catchy pun, or just from the show notes. Today's guest is skin expert, driving evidence-based education, advocacy, and enterprise in diverse skin tones. And she's here today to discuss how the dermatology industry is failing people of color. Dr. Tia Paul. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, very nice to meet you, and thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thank you.
How long do you have to go to school to become a dermatologist?
So it is 4 years of undergrads, then 4 years of medical school, and then 4 years of residency. That's the bare minimum. But dermatology is one of the most competitive specialties to get into. It's very similar to plastic surgery. So most people do another additional 1 year or 2 years of research. So I had done 2 years of additional research at Mass General. So in total, it took me 14 years to become a board certified dermatologist.
Wow. Oh my God. I had no idea. And what exactly does a dermatologist do?
So, a dermatologist is a physician who specializes in treating the skin, the hair, as well as the nails. So, we specialize in both medical aspects of treating the skin, hair, and nails, but also we treat cosmetic stuff. We do a lot of cosmetic stuff as well. And in terms of ages, our patients can be as young as 1 day old to as old as more than 100 years old, because most of us, we specialize both in pediatric as well as adult dermatology.
Mm. And then like when you're going to school for all of that stuff, like is it you knew the whole time I want to be a dermatologist, or was it like generally I just want to do something with medicine, and then it just kept going until you arrived at dermatology?
Yeah, so my story is very unique because I'm also an immigrant. So I moved to the States when I was 18 for college, and it's very, very hard to get into US medical school, especially if you're on a visa. So, but I always had this vision. I always knew I wanted to become a physician. And I also had this crazy vision where I always wanted to go to Harvard Medical School, even knowing that the chances of doing that is very, very low on a visa. But I was always very, hardworking and all of that. So it was when I finished college, that's when I took the 2 years to do research, and then I applied for medical school, and I actually ended up getting into Harvard, and I did a joint program between Harvard and MIT. But even during all of medical school, most of it, I didn't know I wanted to go into derm. So most of us get an idea of what they want to do during a third and fourth year of medical school, because that's when we rotate through every specialty. We spend a month in pediatrics, a month in OBGYN. I knew I did not want to go into OBGYN. It was very stressful for me. But when I went through the dermatology rotation, I was like, okay, I see myself doing this. It's a fun mix of procedures as well as medicine on a day-to-day basis. So that's when, at the end of third year of medical school, is when I decided to go into derm. And but dermatology is very, very, very competitive. So you have to, like, I think I applied to 80 different programs or something like that. And then I don't know if you're familiar, in the United States, the way we end up going to our residency program is not based on what we pick. It's based on if the program also picks you. There is a match system. So we will submit the list of schools we are interested in. Depending on that, we will get an interview. We go interview there, and then we submit our rank list. So we will say, oh, I want to go to this school. That's my number one priority, number two, number three, blah, blah, blah. And the schools will also do the same. I want this candidate, that candidate. And then the computer system generates a match. And based on that, we get to decide which part of the country we're going to go to.
Wow.
Wow.
That's and you had to you were deciding this stuff all along the way, like 18, and then when you get out of college, and then, or is this like not until the last couple of years that you have to make that decision?
Yeah, dermatology was in the last couple of years of medical school. But in the medical field, for most of us, like all our 20s just goes into training. I have probably sacrificed so many, like, family events, weddings, or this or that, because we spent all the time in the library just like studying. During residency, it was very normal to have 80-hour work weeks. And even for going into dermatology, which is now considered more of a lifestyle specialty, because once we are board certified and once we have our own practices and stuff like that, a lot of us don't work over the weekends in terms of taking calls. We're still working. I have my own private practice, so I'm still always on. But my point is, I don't have to see patients over the weekends because we don't have emergencies, right?
Right.
But during our training, we still had very rigorous training. I still remember being called in the middle of the night to go into the hospital because of severe rashes that happen to people who are very sick and they're admitted in the hospital. I trained at University of Miami, which is in Jackson Memorial Hospital, where there was a lot of high rates of HIV, and patients would come in with like very low CD4 counts, so they were very, very sick, and they had these rashes from head to toe. And dermatology would be called in the middle of the night, and I would have to like show up there. I still remember so many times going in at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. with my little biopsy kit, and we would do a biopsy in the middle of the night, help the team out by telling what the patient should get started on in terms of treatment in the middle of the night. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work that sometimes we have like PTSD from those days, but then eventually move on.
Wow, man, that's intense. That's more intense than I would associate it with in my mind.
Me
Just because
too.
I think
Yeah.
also in our lifetime we watched, like, with the advent of social media. I think when
Right.
people think about dermatology, they
Technology.
mostly just think about good skin, like just, oh, looking good, makeup, hair, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
to be like, yeah, HIV patients need help from a dermatologist in the emergency room. Like, this is not just it's not simply about looking good, or the beauty industry.
No, absolutely. And I actually have a quick story about that. So at Jackson Memorial Hospital, oftentimes we would have very sick patients who flew in from different parts of the world, and they would literally come to Miami Airport and they would be brought to Jackson. And there was a case which was over the middle of the weekend that I got called into because this guy was very, very sick. Like his lung was not doing well, multiple organs were failing. And I looked at him and I remember very, like, this was a rare condition, this rash that I saw. I was like, I bet I read about it during in my textbook and stuff. So I ended up doing a biopsy, and it was a very, very rare type of an infection, cryptococcal infection. But we basically diagnosed it because I was called in. I did the biopsy, and that's where we were able to find the diagnosis. And then of course the team did more tests after our initial test. But yeah, the fact that derm comes in the middle of the weekend and helps out, I know most of my colleagues would be like, what are you even doing here? You should be getting your nails done or something like that, right? So we do stuff, and even in clinic, right? Like, yes, I do a lot of cosmetic stuff for my patients too, but I also am the one that's diagnosing melanoma. I cut out skin cancers, and I
Mm.
specialize in treating folks with darker skin. And so many times I've actually picked skin cancer in darker skin because people think, oh, darker skin, there's no way I'm going to get skin cancer. And they just like
Right.
ignore it. So I
Wow.
was trained at University of Miami, and there actually Bob Marley, he was at Miami where he was diagnosed with his melanoma. So he actually had a melanoma on his toe, and he kind
Mm.
of ignored it because he was like, oh, there's no way I can get skin cancer. And the other thing is, it's on the foot. Like, you don't see sun
Wow.
on the foot. But there is a type of melanoma called acral melanoma where it's way more aggressive. And unfortunately, that's how he actually passed away.
Wow.
Um, but that goes to show that you can actually get skin cancer on darker skin. And not just that, the type of skin cancer that happens on darker skin sometimes tends to be more aggressive, or oftentimes because it's not caught early, maybe because the patients are ignoring it, or maybe they went to a place where they didn't catch it early.
Right.
Oftentimes, you're picking it up a little bit later than you would pick it up on lighter skin.
Wow.
Wow. I have so many questions for you because me and Roger have been talking about this. I said, okay, I'm excited, so I'm going to ask you a series. Now they may seem random because I was just typing them down,
Oh,
kind of
go
as
for it.
they came. What was something that once you got out in the field, you was like, school did not prepare me for this?
Oh yeah, so there's so many different things I can tell you, but that first year out of residency, when you're on your own, it's kind of scary because, this whole time, like even during residency, we see hundreds of patients, right? But anytime we have a difficult patient, we have our attendings that we go discuss those cases with, right? Like a rash that doesn't seem the usual thing that you see on textbook, right? You go discuss it with other folks. And then when you're on your own during that first year, you're like, wait, I don't really have anybody to go discuss this with. In reality, you can discuss it with your colleagues. So even now, most
Right.
of us have like either a phone message system, or like, on social media, like on Facebook, we actually have a group called the board certified dermatology group. So when we have difficult cases, we will discuss them, because not everything is black and white. There's so many different rare things that can be very gray. And the other thing, which a lot of time I feel like people in general don't understand, in some of these medical conditions too, a lot of these diseases are not curable. Like even acne, you cannot cure acne. Eczema, you cannot cure eczema. These are conditions where you can, with the right balance of maybe medications or even lifestyle choices, you can keep them under control, but you cannot cure them per se. But it was almost shocking to me, like my first year out, where the number of times I had to like tell people that and remind people that, hey, I know you're coming to see me, but I don't think I can cure your acne. We can talk about getting it under control, but you probably have to see me in follow up, because acne is going to come and go, it's going to wax and wane, and things like that. You know what I mean? So a lot of these practical things, I feel like you pick up only when you're on your own, you're seeing your same patients in follow up multiple times, because it's so important for us to see patients in follow up. That's how I'm truly going to get to know you. Versus like if I meet you one time, there's only so much, we listen to your story, but there's only so much we can come up with in terms of treatment plan. We can start you on the most common treatment plan that we prescribe for most patients, but we need to see you in follow up to see if that treatment plan is working for you. If that's not, we move on to plan B. And same thing goes with skincare too. Not everybody needs to be on a vitamin C and retinol. It's probably going to irritate some folks skin. It has to be very case by case.
Mm.
So yeah, to slowing down, listening to folks, understanding you cannot solve everything in one go. You need to like get to learn the person, get to learn them over time. These are things you just like learn when you're on your own, and these just like practical things.
And when you talk about the industry failing people of color, the dermatology industry, in what ways does that show up, and how did you become like aware of that, and make that part of like one of the things you would like to I guess speak out about?
Oh man, a lot, and this is something that has kind of like evolved throughout my career, right? Like as a medical student, I probably picked it up. Like I could tell that there was a difference, right? I could tell that all our textbooks had these photographs of folks with lighter skin. So eczema, psoriasis, like looks very different on lighter skin versus darker skin. It's a different presentation. Now things are changing a little bit. Now we have textbooks that are coming out with emphasis on skin of color, but it's a slow, gradual change. But then in residency, I also realized not just in terms of diagnosis, even in terms of treatment, right? There are certain lasers you just absolutely cannot do on darker skin, like IPL, like every med spa has an IPL, but you cannot do an IPL on darker skin because that can lead to like hyperpigmentation, burns, and whatnot. And so now my own practice, which is in Newport Beach in California, is very heavily on skin of color. And even yesterday, I actually had a patient that I've been seeing. This was the second time I saw her. The first time she came to me is because she got laser done somewhere else, and she developed really bad dark spots all over her face. And this was like a well reputable place that she went to, so she trusted that place. But I'm guessing maybe they just didn't feel as comfortable treating people with darker skin, because your settings have to be different. So many things have to be different, right? So then she came to me, and very carefully, we are treating her now with a combination of creams and other lasers that are more appropriate for darker skin.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of difference for sure. And it also, kind of depends on where you trained, where you live. Like when, if you're living, like in Miami, I got a lot of exposure with different skin of different colors, right? Like it's a very multicultural place. But if you are in part of a country where you're not getting that exposure, you're not going to be good at diagnosing, like picking up the skin conditions that can look different on darker skin, and B, treatment, because treatment is also going to vary. Like even for creams, like tretinoin cream, we talk about, oh, tretinoin for acne for everyone. On darker skin, often tretinoin will irritate your skin, and it can make your brown spots even worse by irritating the skin. So
Mm.
it's different.
Can you get dandruff in your eyebrows? I've always wondered that. I
You
know
can,
that's kind of an off the wall question, but I know you can get it in your scalp, and I was like, can you get this in your eyebrows?
yeah. So there's a condition called seborrheic dermatitis, which is basically dandruff on the scalp, but it can also present on the face. And the classic distribution is around the eyebrow area, around the nose area, the ears, and even sometime in the chest area. So
Mm.
that's called seborrheic dermatitis. It presents as like flaky patches or red patches. It can be itchy. It can be very scaly. So you can see scaliness even on the eyebrow area. And treatment wise, ketoconazole shampoo, Nizoral, you can get started with that over the counter. And if not, then you go see a dermatologist and we can give prescription creams. But you're absolutely right.
How long have you been practicing dermatology, like, as out on your own?
After residency, so 6 years
Mhm.
after residency. So 14 years of training plus 6 years after residency.
So in that 20 years, I feel like social media would have had to like come through and like really rise to prominence. And I feel like also like even during the pandemic, with what we're doing right now, we're all on camera with each other, but we're also all probably looking at our faces. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
like can't escape it. So like, has that changed how the industry views dermatology, or the
yeah.
kind of work that is being requested of you,
Yeah.
when it comes to this, because of just how much it seems like we're always, all of us, famous not famous, on camera, or at least having to think about how we look.
Oh, absolutely. And I saw that and I was kind of in a way part of that too because I don't know if you, sorry about that, if my camera went blurry for a second.
No.
I was part of the whole experience too because I kind of started being more present on social media on TikTok and Instagram, I think around 2021. And so that was like a couple years that I've been out of residency. So, yes, I would say with the whole pandemic, everybody was kind of like, we had more time, right? So everybody, all of us, we went on these apps, and partly it was for fun, and then for us as professional we also saw it as an opportunity to speak to a wider audience, right? Even if I see like hundreds of patients in clinic, I'm still limited to hundreds of patients, but because of social media now I can reach to a million, possibly billion, right? So on social media what happened is, first of all, like you mentioned, dermatology kind of became all about skincare, and everybody kind of became skincare expert too, right? Even right now there's so many influencers, they're sharing their stories, which we appreciate because it's important to speak out and share about your experience. But there are pros and cons to that, right? If one particular individual is talking about their individual experience, maybe those skincare products work for him or her, but it
Mm.
doesn't mean you can generalize that for everyone, right? It's going to cause side effects and other things like that. And there are all these different trends that are always trending, right? So whether you put face tape or all these different things, again, everything has pros and cons. But for dermatologists, this is literally what we do for a living. This is what I do 5 days a week, where I'm staring at people's skin, but not just staring at people's skin. I am seeing these people back in follow up to understand that niacinamide that I recommended or the azelaic acid that I recommended, truly is it helping or not? And I'm doing this with hundreds of patients, right? So that's where the difference comes, that for us this is our day job, our main job. Now, because of our expertise, like you mentioned, a lot of skincare brands are super interested in working with dermatologists now, right? Like when I was in residency
Mhm.
and all that, it was not such a big thing. And even for me, I have worked with a lot of the leading brands, and not just like in terms of talking about the products, but also skincare startups. They want us to be part of their advisory board because they are seeing the importance of having us on it, because from the practical things that we have to offer, right? But I respect everybody's opinion, and I think it's important to have a chemist on board too, dermatologist, because we all bring our unique set of expertise. But at the end of the day, you got to put everything together,
Mm.
Right.
not rely on one person.
Right. What are trends that have happened, like you say, on TikTok and YouTube and all these different places, where you've seen like people come in and you hear people, you have like for you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people all doing the same trend, and you're like, oh, there might be something wrong with this trend that you're doing, because it's obviously tearing up your face, messing up your skin, and all this stuff. Have you seen like trends that people are doing Like, and then the consequences of it, they're coming to you to kind of help repair something that they seen as a trend.
Yes. So, number one, I think the biggest thing we see literally every day is using too many products on their face, or
Mm,
like combining the wrong combination, right? Like people want instant gratification, people want instant results, and they
right.
think the way to get to it is you slap on 10 different products on your face. Most commonly, that causes your skin to get super irritated. Your skin barrier gets compromised. So then your acne gets worse, your eczema
Mhm.
gets worse. And, and that's why, like, I appreciate when some content creators share their journeys of things going wrong, right? From using some of the information they see online. So that's just like not even like a trend thing, but just like a very common thing on social media that I feel like, especially young kiddos, right? Like, they don't need retinol at the age of 10, but
Mm-mm.
it's fun, it's fancy. And I almost feel like some brands take advantage of that, like they want to target that population, so their products are very colorful, they're very pretty. I have a 7-year-old daughter. She loves, looking at all these skincare products that I keep getting, and she wants to try them because it's a bright yellow bottle or like a purple
Mm,
bottle, you know what I mean? But this is all marketing. At the end of the day, if you think about it, everybody just wants you to buy stuff, right?
Right.
um how much of it is truly in your best interest of getting you the best skin? I don't know. It's hard to tell, right? um but then there are also particular trends. Like there's like this one thing about not washing your hair often on social media, where
mhm.
recently I was that you shouldn't, even if you have dandruff, you shouldn't wash your hair often. Again, might have worked for one or two people, but for
Right.
majority of people, that's going to cause overgrowth of yeast, going to make things worse. So it's important to get some advice from social media, but maybe diversify the content creators that you're listening to. Maybe listen to some derms, listen to some non-derms too, like people who specializes in different things.
Is it a lot of pressure on you as well to like maintain a certain like aesthetic? Because as a dermatologist and in so like you say you're on TikTok, is it a thing where people are like, I don't want to go to her, she had a pimple this morning, or is it, or is like, is there a pressure to that, or is it like you
Yeah.
said where it's like a transparency, or like behind the scenes are like, hey, I get them too, guys, let's all calm down.
Oh my God, no, there's a lot of pressure. That's just me being honest. Even like in clinic, especially if I'm doing like cosmetic stuff and lasers and stuff, I feel this kind of pressure to have clear skin because I'm also my biggest advertisement. So
Right.
even I'm talking about, forget about social media, even like folks that are coming to see me in clinic, they could be coming in for a skin check for molds or
Right.
something that's completely different from cosmetic stuff, but they end up seeing my skin and they're like, wow, your skin seems so smooth. What have you done? And that's, leads to like a whole different conversation, right? So
Mm.
from a clinic standpoint, like there's that, but then also I work with a lot of skincare brands, including brands like reputable brands like CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, where they don't want to, when they're taking our photos and stuff like that, they don't want to alter the images, they don't want to photoshop it, they want to
Oh,
have real skin, right?
right.
And they never force us in any way to like maintain clear skin, they just want it to be
Right.
natural. But internally, for me and myself, I want to make sure that my skin looks good, especially if it's going to be like not photoshopped. And I appreciate that. That's why I like
Mm.
working with CeraVe or La Roche-Posay, because I know that things are clean and authentic, right? And that's how it should be.
Nah, that's cool. That's it's just like something to think about in this day and age with the internet.
It is. What are the most common skin conditions that you see in adults?
In all different skin tones, you mean, or in
Yeah.
darker
Yes.
skin?
Just in all different skin tones.
So in adults, I think the number one thing it comes down to is effects of sun damage. So chronic sun exposure, I think we forget. Like when we're in our teens and 20s, pretty much all of us have pretty good skin. That's why sometimes when I see, a content creator or beauty content creator or influencer talking about really good skin and they're like in their early 20s, I'm like, I have a lot of respect for you, but you're in your 20s, right? You're meant to have very good skin. Later on is when the signs of aging start showing. So it can be as simple as getting a lot of brown spots in all different skin tones. So brown spots, I would say, it's inevitable. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. We are all going to develop that. Our skin just looking more dull and coarse and fine lines. These are just like normal parts of aging. I always say it's actually a privilege that we get to experience that, right?
Yes.
But you can take care of it at the same time. you should be proud of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but I would say those are just common concerns I see in clinic pretty much every day. But in terms of skin conditions, common conditions are like eczema, because our skin also gets drier as we get older. So we can get like very non-specific, like dry, itchy patches, which is like eczema. Acne can even happen in your adult life, even if you've not had it in your
Mhm.
20s and 30s. So many times I have folks that are in like their 50s and they're like, I've never had acne my whole life. Why am I getting it now? And to be honest, there's no answer to that. It could be because of hormonal changes and it just like happens. Skin cancer, that's another thing that we see a lot in clinic. But yeah, but it's fun, you know. I honestly like, I consider it a blessing to do what I do because every day is so different. Like I'll come look at my schedule, it could look like, oh, I have like 5 different skin checks in a row. And then the next thing you know, some of these patients also start talking about cosmetic concerns. So it's like a nice mix of things. I'm cutting out skin cancer in the morning. In the afternoon, I'm doing completely else, completely different, maybe like a laser or something like that. So every day is very different.
What are some things that actually, I don't say specifically, but have a tendency to affect darker skins more? Because I know you was actually your question was like, well, is there a separation? And I was wanting to do the generalized one, but then I was like, well, then what is something that you see have a tendency to see more in darker colored skin?
Man, the number one thing I would say is hyperpigmentation or dark spots. Like, I'm sure you guys can relate to this. If we get a pimple, I could care less about that pimple. That pimple is going to go away in 3 or 4 days. That
Mm-hmm.
brown spot is going to stay for 4 or 5 months, right?
Yes.
With the bug bite, the itchiness and all that is going to go away, but the dark spot is going to be a reminder for many many
Mhm.
months. So I would say that's like the number one thing we see, for whether because of the sun directly, like sunspots and stuff, or because of some underlying condition like acne, eczema, bug bites. They all resolve with what we called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, meaning that after all that initial inflammation on the skin or the initial irritation on the skin, that then heals with that discoloration. So you might hear this word called PIH. PIH means post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, which essentially means that after any sort of an initial insult on the skin, your skin is healing with that discoloration.
Mm.
And again, it's normal. That's just, we have
Right.
melanin, and that's normal. But it bugs people, you know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
noticed also you describe yourself as, evidence based, having an evidence based education. Um, is that a big fight now? Because I feel like so much of what the world is right now feels like evidence and education and stuff is just under attack. Like expertise is under
Mm-hmm.
attack, and it's like vibes. We're just going by vibes, especially in our country right now. It's like, hey, put somebody in charge of health services, and they're just kind of going on vibes. And I'm like, I don't know. There were some experts
Yeah,
there
I like
before,
professionals.
So like, is that a thing you're experiencing in your line of work? Are people coming into your office under the guy, with either misinformation or bad information that they're getting from other sources?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like that's there all the time, but like no matter what you say, even I've seen some of my videos, no matter what you say, you are gonna get hit with people who disagree with you,
Mm,
right? And no matter what the statement is, right? Like it could be like the sky is blue and somebody could be like, no, the sky is not blue, it's light blue, or something like that, right?
yeah,
And now what happens with evidence, and I understand in skincare, the tricky part is some of the stuff there is no strong evidence, right? But make our recommendation at least based on maybe studying a larger sample size, right? Versus a lot of the recommendations you see on social media, again, could be a personal sample size of one, personal experience only. And then that video goes viral, like billion views or something, and all of a sudden that seems like a more real thing than the other stuff that's like, truly at least backed up by evidence. But it's a very
Right.
like gray area. It's very hard to like say what's right, what's wrong. But
right,
at least from us, that's what, when I'm talking to my patients, the way I describe it is like, I can only tell you based on what's been studied, but there's so much that has not been studied.
yeah,
And that those are the gray areas, right? Like, the analogy I give is also like, a lot of like skincare and procedure in pregnant patients, right, has just not been studied. So by default, we say it's better to avoid those, right?
right,
Same thing in real life, if something has not been tested enough, it's hard for us to safely recommend that online.
Right. Yeah, I think also like with it being such a like a seller's market, like there's an economy behind a lot of stuff. So like to me, you almost have to be a little skeptical of where you get your information because you may have people that are like, oh, this lotion works for everybody 100% of the time, all skins, no matter what the condition is. It cured me
Right.
of cancer. I got the, and they may just be trying to sell it. And I'm thinking, hope as a person that watches them, like, oh no, this is their experience and this is just life, but you don't really know. So like maybe I think being able to go see a doctor in real life or whatever feels like a more pertinent thing, even if it is something that just is individually anecdotally affecting me. At least a doctor that I'm going to see on a regular basis or whatnot, someone with some expertise, like we can figure this out together, as opposed to a person on the internet who, as you said, could just be talking a singular experience or literally just be selling me something.
True.
Yeah, it can be very, very tricky, and even I fall for that stuff outside skincare, right? When I go on TikTok, I like end up buying all this other crap, which in 30 days, I'm like, this was purely, I shouldn't have gotten
That's
it,
how they
but
get me
Yes.
too.
Yes.
That's how they get me too. I have so much stuff in my house where I'm just like, man, these whatever it is in these cookies that I keep accepting on these internet
yes,
websites, it is very good,
For me.
for
very
sure.
accurate.
They're like listening to everything you're talking, right? I feel like I'm talking to my husband about something, and next thing you know, the product like pops up on your TikTok
Oh
feed or
yeah,
your
Mhm.
Facebook
oh yeah.
feed,
I'm for
and I'm
sure
like,
getting
how did
some.
you know?
I'm gonna get some skincare ads as soon as we get off of
Of
this
course.
Oh
podcast.
yeah,
You got acne,
sorry about that.
rosacea.
Exactly, exactly.
What are some of the most common, I guess I don't want to say errors or mistakes that you see parents make with children? Because I know you say you've seen children, but when they first born, and things like that. Like, what are some things that you be like, I don't think you should do this, or maybe they need to do more of this? Like, because children's skin when they're born are very sensitive.
Right, right. So the number one thing is again still like the whole sunscreen thing, because I see this every single day. There is so many things that people complain about later on in their life, whether it's brown spots or if these precancer things, like rough crusty things, or it's wrinkles, or it's like so many things. They can easily be, if not prevented 100%, but you could see less of that if we are good about sun protection, but from a very early on stage in your life, right?
Right.
I'm guilty too. I grew up in India. I did not wear sunscreen the first 18 years of my life because it wasn't a thing there. You know what I mean? But now I would say that at least for my kids, I'm pretty good about making sure they're truly wearing sunscreen. But no sunscreen is 100% effective. You still have to be mindful when you're out in the sun during the peak hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Even if you're putting on sunscreen every single hour, but they are in the crazy sun, they're getting toasted. So it's a balance. I'm not saying restrict your kids from having fun, but it's a balance. And if you're truly seeing them getting bad sunburns, then that's a clear sign that you got to slow down. Your sunscreen is not being as effective, or you're just spending way too much time in the sun, because that damage might not be showing at the age of 10, but it will for sure show up on your skin at the age of 40 or 50 or whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely remember the first time I found out black people could have
Sunburn.
sunburn.
Me too. I was
And
Yeah.
shocked. Yeah.
it was cause it happened to me. I feel like every black person finds out the same way. It's just you look up one day and go, "What is this?"
This
I just
can't
got
be me.
really dark, right? For me, I don't think I got sunburn, but I got
I
like
definitely got
I got was
sunburn.
dark. I was like, oh my gosh, I am really baking out here.
I got sunburned and I peeled and everything.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was sore. Yeah, it was. I honest to God, I would have, if I would have failed every lie detector test, if they would have said, "Can black people get sunburned?" I'd be like, "Of course not."
I
That's
don't know.
so. Are there myths or misinformation or things like that that you see out there that affect people like that? Because I know I definitely fell victim to black people can't get sunburned.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like the whole concept of like, oh, we have melanin in our skin, we are protected. I mean, there is a little bit of protection, but it doesn't mean, we can go take full advantage of being in the sun, because yes, you're still going to get the same consequences of too much sun exposure, which is whether skin cancer or even, early signs of aging. Somehow, in clinic, it's funny. If I tell people, oh, wear sunscreen to prevent skin cancer, I feel like that doesn't work as well as if I tell people, hey, wear your sunscreen. You're going to be spending less on cosmetic procedure later on in your life because you're going to get wrinkles and dark spots later on. That
Wow.
works way better. So I always say it's a
Wow.
long-term investment into your skin if you want to be spending less money on other stuff later on in your life. So
We are a vain society, so
Yeah.
that does make sense. And it's
it,
also funny too because I feel like as a black person, it works both ways for us. Where like there's a pressure to be like black don't crack, black don't crack.
Mm-hmm.
So like you know you're like I don't want to fail everybody by my skin falling apart when I'm 40 or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah, and then it becomes an emergency. Once you start seeing those signs, then you're like, okay, doctor, like fix it. What can we do? Fix it now. And then you have to be
right.
also careful. You can't just fix everything all at once. If you're going to do
Right.
all these procedures, be careful, go slow. So it's like anything in life, there is a fine balance, and prevention is so much better than like trying to treat stuff, right?
Mm.
Is it hard? Because I know you treat all types of skin conditions, and some of them probably, I'm just assuming, can be amplified with like makeups and creams. Have you ever had to tell a patient, hey, you might have to go a period of time without putting anything on your face in order for whatever telling you to do to clear up? And you got somebody who wears makeup all the time kind of fighting you, and you're like, well, it's going to take twice as long. It might not clear up. Like, I'm telling you this because I actually want your skin. I'm concerned about your skin, not concerned about not
Yes.
trying to funny how the world views you type of thing. Like I'm for the betterment of the patient, and like I got to know that it has to be difficult to kind of fight against somebody when because particularly as women we're taught wear makeup, cover it up and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, every day again. So my goal when I'm taking care of my patients, whether if they're coming in for acne or eczema on their face, or if they're coming in because of, cosmetic concerns and they want to look, good for their age, right? The number one goal I tell people is I want you to get to the point where you don't feel the need to wear makeup. I want you to get to the point where you're just wearing tinted sunscreen. Because right now, all I'm wearing is tinted sunscreen. Actually, fun fact, I
Okay.
just came straight to the gym. I didn't realize this was a live thing. So I was like, you
Oh.
know what? So I came from the gym, I changed my top, and I'm like literally here with you. But that's the whole goal, right? To wear minimum makeup. Because it's been known that if you're struggling with things like acne, makeup can clog up your pores and it can make your acne way worse. If
Mm.
you have eczema, same thing. Some products, some preservatives in your makeup can cause the skin to get more irritated and it can make things worse. If you have rosacea, another indicator of very sensitive skin, same thing. Too much makeup can make things get worse. Makeup to me is like in a way suffocating your skin, and that's why even for me when I do put on any makeup, I can't wait to take that makeup off at night before I go to bed. And maybe back in the day I used to go to bed with makeup on, but now I'm like, oh my god, it's like going to bed without brushing my teeth, right? Like it just
Right.
doesn't feel right. It just feels very
Mm-mm.
dirty and it just does not feel right. um but yes, makeup can definitely make things worse. The goal is to wear less makeup and be proud of your skin, be proud of you are.
Do people wash their legs in the shower? Because that was a big debate on TikTok
That was a trend, wasn't
last
it?
year, and I'm team wash your legs in the
Me
shower. I'm
too.
just more of a like if you're in there, you might as well try to wash it all. But I did see some people try to make some arguments that we maybe should just the water would just trickle down to the legs and they clean themselves. Well, is there like any dermatological opinion on this?
On washing your legs?
Yeah,
Yes.
should people wash their legs in the shower when they go take a shower?
That was a trend, and people were actually arguing about that.
Oh, I would say wash it. Maybe I did not pay attention to this trend, but like for sure, we see so many like problems such as like ingrown hair in between your or legs, or there are certain conditions that can happen because of overgrowth of bacteria. And because it's important to note, we all have healthy bacteria that lives on our skin. We have healthy yeast that live on our skin. But the problem happens when there is an overgrowth of stuff, right? Where that
Mm.
balance is screwed up. So, and you want to maintain that with good hygiene. That goes down to like kindergarten, right?
Right.
So you want to keep things nice and clean. Yeah, you never want to overdo it. Like you don't have to keep scrubbing your skin 3 times a day and take multiple showers and dry out your skin. No, it's about a balance. But at the same time, you got to clean it when it needs to be cleaned.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, me too. For somebody that has eczema, what is a good soap for them? Because I know that's kind of a sensitive thing, and I know for some people they have a hard time because there's so much stuff.
Is it just one soap? Is it a thing like,
Oh yeah,
like, cause matter of fact, let me, I don't mean to change your
go
question,
ahead.
but when should people see a dermatologist versus just like, oh, let me just ask someone what soap should I use?
True.
Sure. I mean, you can always look, not everybody have access to dermatologists and not everybody has
True.
insurance to pay for it. So I'm very mindful of that.
Right.
I would say that it starts with simple things like what we call sensitive skincare. So sensitive skincare means pretend your skin is like a baby's skin, right? You want to avoid things like too much perfume or too much fragrance in your skincare products because that's been shown to make your skin flare up or get worse if you have sensitive skin. So finding a body cleanser or a soap that's meant for sensitive skin that's free of fragrance, that's an important step. Personally, I like brands like there is a brand called Vani Cream, Vani cream, Vani cream, that most dermatologists recommend for folks with eczema or sensitive skin. I do like CeraVe, Cetaphil. These are just, good. It doesn't have to be a fancy brand, but these are
Right.
good over-the-counter brands that does a great job in terms of taking good care of your skin. But it's concepts like moisturize your skin. The number one cause of itching or rash or redness or irritation is when your skin is super dry. No matter how much water you drink, this is another misconception. People think, oh, if you don't drink enough water, that's what causes dehydration of the skin. While there's a correlation, like if you don't drink enough water, you could be dehydrated, yes, and that could manifest on the skin. He's drinking his water now. But but no matter how much water you drink, you still have to moisturize your skin because that's like food and drink for your skin. So not moisturizing your skin enough, using the wrong moisturizers or something that has fragrance in it. And then the third thing that can make eczema worse or sensitive skin worse is taking hot showers. I am guilty of that.
Me
I
too. I'm like, who
uh,
want to take a lukewarm child? Y'all, you come in there, you think the building on fire. I mean, like the hotter the better. What is we doing here?
that is where I feel like sometimes I am personally like, oh, I told 5 different people this morning in clinic not to take hot showers, but my steam is up. But I know right after that at night when I take a hot shower, I go crazy scratching my skin because my skin gets dry. And not
Right.
just me, I see my husband with that. I see patients, they're like, Dr. Paul, my skin is the worst at night when I'm trying to go to bed. And I'm like, do you take hot showers before going to bed? Oh, yeah. How do you know? I'm like, that's exactly why it's itchy because you're taking the hot shower, your skin is getting dry, you're not moisturizing. And then at the end of the day, we are relaxed. During the day, we're busy, distracted, not busy scratching our skin. At the end of the day, finally our mind is a little calm. And once you start scratching a skin in one area, your body sends out all these signs and signals wanting to scratch all over. And then you go crazy scratching your skin.
Yeah, hot showers. Karen does. She likes lava setting. Like maybe 1 degree below lava. Like whatever won't set you on fire. 1 degree below that. So
I hear you. I
uh, but also like when you say like moisturize, are we talking like you get out the shower? And I know when I was a kid, there's no way this was right, but whatever. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't know. But there's people that just put Vaseline on your like face, and is that a good thing to do?
Oh yeah, that's a thing that was trending on social media for a while. So it's called slugging. I actually like that one.
Okay,
So
slug.
Okay.
slugging basically means you're putting like a layer of Vaseline or something greasy to kind of help lock in the moisture. And
Mm,
you can put on some moisturizer and then put a thick layer of Vaseline. The whole idea is you're absorbing all that moisture into the skin. Yeah, and some people swear by that, like
okay.
Aquaphor too, another thing, you could put that all over. You just have to be careful. Two things. One is if you're prone to clogged pores, or sometimes, it's called milia, that is like little white bumps that can happen around your eyes. If you're
Right.
prone to that stuff, you don't want to put an occlusive such as Vaseline because that's going to clog up your pores. So that's number
Hmm.
one. And number two is if you're using active ingredients like retinol and all that stuff, you don't want to slug after that. You don't want to put Vaseline after that because that's going to like make your retinol go inside your skin and
Oh,
irritate your skin more.
Okay.
That makes sense.
What do you think about the Korean skincare trend? Everybody go, I want glassy skin. I thought it looks pretty, but I mean, I don't think in real life my skin's supposed to blind everybody.
Yeah. So while I love Korean products, and I feel like Korea has done a great job with skincare products and also
Hmm.
procedures, a lot of the lasers, they're all like tested out there or very popular there because I think Koreans are just very into skincare and good skin health. So
Right.
I definitely value that. And, I work with skincare startups that will literally go spend some time in Korea just to learn about the whole skin health there. But this glass skin, don't even get me started because, and you guys can vouch to that, it depends on your lighting. It depends on what
Mhm.
type of light you have in front of your skin. It depends on
Right.
how much oil based moisturizer you're using and the right reflection of light, right? That's
Mm.
Hmm.
essentially it. When I'm seeing people in clinic, even the folks with the best skin, nobody's coming in with glass skin. Literally
Right. Because I'm like,
nobody.
I don't see people in the street with this skin. Like, I only see it online. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
It's ridiculous. Have you ever seen babies with glass skin and they have the best skin on earth? Right?
Right.
Right.
No, they
Right.
don't. They have good skin. There is a concept of clear or like there is no such thing as perfect skin. There's healthy
Right.
Right.
skin, but there is no such thing as, pure glass skin, But, I think we loosely use that terminology to talk about, smooth skin, and there
Right.
are some skincare products that can help achieve that.
Hmm.
But you don't want your skin to be like glass. You want your skin to be like skin. So you can,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever see like, well, two questions. First is there like a difference in the number of like men that come in versus women that come in for skincare? Because I think,
Mm.
especially with it being attached to like a lot in people's minds, a lot of people it's attached to like beauty, and I think a lot of men don't necessarily want to like be upfront about like I'm very concerned with how beautiful people perceive me as, as opposed, at least not in public. But I don't know what they
Right.
do at the doctor. Maybe everyone's going to the doctor, they're just not talking about it.
Uh, I have definitely seen a pretty big trend where men are actually secretly very much into this stuff. In fact,
Mm,
in my clinic, I have a lot of men that are in pretty executive positions and stuff like that who come in for all these lasers and microneedling and all these procedures pretty regularly, probably even more than women. And in fact, I was actually having a conversation with my husband the other day. I was like, babe, I feel like women, we are more conscious about the budget and we think more about the price tag because these things can be
Right.
expensive.
Yes, they
mhm.
can.
Like guys are like, it seems like some of them don't care. Well, then I had this hypothesis is maybe because for women we also spend so much on our nails, our hair, like every damn
Yeah,
week,
these other
all
things.
different
Hmm.
things, right? But my point is, no, a lot of guys are into this stuff, but they are the ones who are not gonna talk about it. If I ever ask
Mm.
them if I can share that before and after on social media, the answer typically is no, which is okay, which is fine. I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. But it's totally fine. And my husband too. Well, my husband, he doesn't have a choice. I will share his before and after on social media, but I can tell secretly he loves it because my husband has a lot of acne scars and he
Right.
has darker skin, so it's very very tricky when you're treating acne scar for darker skin because a lot of the lasers, a lot of the devices can easily cause what we call hyperpigmentation or dark spots and stuff like that. So we have made a lot of progress and now his skin is starting to look very good and I can see secretly he like loves it, but he's not
Right.
going to talk about that and tell his friends and family and all that. It's me talking about it. I'm like, look at his skin, how much it has improved, or like other people that are like bringing
Yeah, I think also part of that is just how men are friends. Like I was thinking of a joke the other day. I just didn't say it on the show, but it's like men tell each other stuff that's very revelatory, but it's too late, and they act like you already knew. So
Hmm.
it'll just be like, yeah, I was at my kid's graduation. It's like, you got a
Kid,
kid?
we
Like,
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
even
yeah, yeah, yeah,
talked about it. I've known you 10 years.
what?
yeah, yeah.
So I
Also,
wonder if that is, because like something like a self care routine, it's
Yes.
more of an almost everyday thing as opposed to like
Mm-hmm.
a just I got a kid thing or whatever. But I
Right.
feel like men don't do a good job. We don't do a good job in our friendships of talking about stuff like that. I have a friend Justin who always like it sticks out to me because he is the one who's like, man, we need to go get our feet done, dude. We
He's
gotta
been
go.
asking you
Like
about that.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, and I can imagine, a bunch of girls getting together. We're like, "Hey, your skin is looking great right now. Like, what are you doing?" Yeah, I can't imagine guys being like, "Yo, man, what are you doing to your
right,
face?" Right?
exactly.
What
Yeah.
product you use?
You
Yeah,
exfoliate,
yeah,
bro?
yeah. Sometimes I'm like, did they notice or not? Or maybe like even if you notice, you just don't like talk about it out loud, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
No, it sticks out to me the times that it does happen because just because it's rare. It does happen, depending on your type of friendships. I had friends that'll be like, "Oh, what do you use a face? You never use a face mask or something like that," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, now we're talking about it." But yeah, it's just it is not an often thing, and like you said, I've heard that conversation many a time with women where it can be two stranger women, like they don't
right.
even they
Oh my
don't
God,
even
yes.
know what the default is for each other's skin,
Mm-mm.
like for them to be
Yeah.
like, girl, what you do to your skin? Okay, I see you face.
Yeah, yeah. No, true story, right? Like I'll go up to the grocery store, I'll go up to random places and I'll have folks that will come up to me like, "Wow, your skin looks so good. Like what do you do?" I don't think I can ever, even if a guy has like the best perfect skin, I can't imagine people like going up to them and be like, "Yo, man, what are
Right.
you doing?" Right?
I'm gonna start that trend.
I think it should be a
Your
trend.
skin
I
is
think these are the kind of
skin
things
is
that should blow
gorgeous.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
What is the simplest skincare routine for most people? I know like that moisturize, exfoliate, like cleanse. Like I know some of the basic stuff, but what is it you go, these are like the things that are like you need for most the foundation of most like just basic skincare needs.
Yeah, so I just say the three essential steps are: number one, cleanse; number two, moisturize; number three, sunscreen, which is protection, sunscreen.
Okay.
If you really want to like add stuff, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up something because
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
actually at my clinic, so I just saw this. I don't know if you can see this or read this, but this is basically when I'm recommending stuff. So number one step is always cleanse. Number two can be treatment. So treatment is going to be very targeted based on your individual problem. So if you have
Okay.
acne, you want to use a treatment serum like a salicylic acid serum that's going to be meant for acne. If your issue is not acne, if you're trying to target uneven skin tone, then maybe you want to go with something like vitamin C. So that treatment, that serum should be very, very targeted with what we call active ingredients. That means ingredients that are specifically targeting a skin concern. And then again, number three is moisturize. Number four is the sunscreen. Same thing at night. All you got to do is cleanse. If you want to add the treatment step, make it the next step. But again, make it targeted, not just what you're hearing on social media. And
Right.
number three is moisturize. And then a couple times in a week, you can end up exfoliating your skin. So exfoliation can be okay, can be good. I mean, I do exfoliate my skin, but
Right.
not every day. Because if you over exfoliate your skin, especially in skin of color, you can cause too much dryness and too much irritation of your skin to the
Mm.
point where over exfoliation can compromise your skin barrier, because our skin is like, we have these bricks and mortar that is protecting our skin from the outside environment. If you're using too much exfoliation, that border, that skin barrier is no longer protected, it's compromised, there are gaps in it. And so now you can easily get irritated from like another skincare product like a retinol or something that you're using on your skin, right? So this is also why less is better. If you're
Right.
exfoliating, exfoliate a couple times in a week, not every single day. And yeah, just listen to your skin. Every month your skin might be acting different, so your skincare routine might need to change every month, every depending on the place you're traveling to. My skin acts differently in Southern California where I live versus when I go to Florida. It's a different temperature, your
Mm.
skin is going to be different.
Does skin bleaching affect people's skin, and like does it do, or have you ever had to even work with someone that had like either damage from skin bleaching or their goal was to like bleach their skin?
A lot. I actually get these DMs on my social media, Instagram, all the time because I have a lot of folks that follow me. They're from India, and in India, there's this whole concept of like people want lighter skin, right? Not necessarily brighter skin. My emphasis as a dermatologist when I'm talking about treating dark spot is merely to even out the skin and make it brighter,
Right.
but not
Right.
lighter. right? We should be
Right.
proud of our skin color, but we should not later. But in India, for example, there's this big thing where people get this injection, or not just injection, IV, intravenous injection of a product called glutathione. So that's a medication, or that's something where in not just India, Philippines, a lot of other countries, people get that IV injection of glutathione to lighten their skin overall. Now,
Mm.
that stuff is not safe. In the United States, dermatologists are completely against it. Some med spas will have that stuff, but there have been reports of death in the Philippines. In fact, I
Wow.
think in the Philippines it's banned. But there can be liver damage, kidney damage, and whatnot. But my point is, you're right. A lot of people are trying to lighten their overall skin, but that's not because they're trying to fix any problem. They're just trying to like change
Right.
their skin color.
Yeah, internalized stuff. Yeah, and because you have like caste systems, you have obviously in colorism. I know in the United States that's a big thing in our community for a long period of time. So like, yeah, it's definitely it feels more like a insecurity than an actual medical issue to be like, hey, I need to like brighten my skin. It's like
Yeah.
I don't think that's acne. I don't think that there's no diagnosis for just your skin is the color that your skin is. You know. I have questions from the audience too, Karen. But
Okay.
go ahead, you can go, and then I'll bring up the questions from the audience as well.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I like when I said I had tons of questions, I had tons of questions. I have something called I think they're called HS. It's like really really long. I don't know all the words for it. Like
Hyperpigmentation.
this the scientific word for it. And I just recently, as an adult, found out that this is something that I've had since I was a kid, and it produces boils like and they can go like underneath your arms, your groin, and around like your breast area. And I remember when I was a kid, when I would shave my arms, or if I would use like a too strong of a deodorant, because I don't sweat eat. It takes a lot for me to perspirate. And so I mean, one time I tried Degree, and so when I tried it, I got like these bumps up underneath my arms, and then after a while they faded away. And so I am very thankful for a dermatologist that's kind of specializes in black skin, because they told me, they was like, this happens often in black people, and it was like a lot of people go their whole life, and they kind of randomly get these boils, and because they come and they go, and they don't pay it no attention. And a lot of times that people come to me when they get bad, and I'm talking about like real bad, where you have to get like injections and things like that, like in it for them, because I had to get like injections. And that's when she told me what I had. And I don't want to say I felt stupid, but I was like, I wish somebody would have told me this like like earlier in life, that this was something that I was dealing with or fighting with. So particularly with that, have you had people come and they're kind of shocked or surprised by some of the diagnosis that you give them? And when you tell them like more black people have a tendency to get this, they're more shocked by that than anything else, because they might have family or friends that might be dealing with it.
Yes, so what you're talking about is called hidradenitis suppurativa. It's a very long word. I don't know why they named it like that. But
Right.
you're right. It's people will sometimes, even in our during our training, we used to think that, oh, it's relatively rare. But to be honest, it's not that rare. I think it's rare because oftentimes it's being underdiagnosed, you know? Like I
Right.
think primary care doctors a lot of times won't even pick it up. They might just be like, oh,
Mm.
you have acne in your armpits, or you have folliculitis, and it's oftentimes misdiagnosed. And it's also because sometimes it can be tricky, because technically there are three different stages: stage one, stage two, stage three. Stage one is very early on, where it just literally presents as like little pimples, like little boils that come and
Right.
go, come and go. And like you described, the classic areas are the armpits, below the breast, in the groin area. Stage two is when it's a little bit more, you see deeper boils, like pus coming out, like angry.
Mm-hmm.
Then stage three is when you have even intense scarring, because these boils are interconnected. They have like little sinus tracts and whatnot, and
Right.
it's like very severe, painful. I mean, I have had a lot of patients actually throughout my career where I've seen it's gotten so painful that they couldn't move their armpits.
Mm.
Um, so oftentimes, it's kind of like diagnosed by the time it's stage two or stage three, because yes, that's when it starts to look like classic textbook. But that stage one HS is often either misdiagnosed, or and sometimes I understand, even as derms, it might not be as classic, because
Right.
a lot of time, by the time patients come to even see us, they might not even have the boil, but it's based on the story. If you tell me the story that it comes and goes, especially if you're shaving, it's getting a lot worse, you're just
Right.
more predisposed to it. That's when for me I'm like, yes, this could be early HS versus folliculitis, and we treat them very similarly. But it's a condition where the main problem is not even so much bacterial overgrowth; it's actually inflammation. Like these hair follicles are getting clogged up, and then your body is trying to like treat it almost like a foreign body, and there's a lot of inflammation that goes on. So yeah, you can start off with cleansers called Hibiclens that can help keep it clean. And then there's different treatment protocols. Yeah, antiperspirants can help sometimes because it helps with if somebody is sweating too much, it can help with that, and that can also keep HS under control. But you're right, it's more prevalent in darker skin and black skin. It's more prevalent in certain age groups too. I mean, not age groups, but in groups like there is a correlation between obesity. There is a correlation between smoking. So those are also important factors which we need to ask
Okay.
our patients, mainly not to be judgmental, but mainly
Mm.
to let them know that hey, if you lose weight, it might help. Or if you're
Right.
smoking, if
Reduce
you
these
that's
things.
another
Yeah.
motivation to like try to quit smoking.
Right. I have a question from the chat. What's the best over the counter treatment for eczema on darker skin?
So it would always be like good moisturizing creams that have ceramides in it. So CeraVe moisturizing cream is good. Brands like Eucerin, Cetaphil, but look for the moisturizing cream rather than the lotion because creams are a little bit thicker, so they do a better job in terms of helping dry skin.
There you go. Let's see. How much facial exfoliation is too much? Once a week, twice. Is it the same for the body? Says think pretty
Very,
smart.
very, very good question because yeah, body usually can tolerate more because the skin on the body is different from the face. The face is very delicate. So face, I would say yeah, once or twice a week, but that number is going to again vary from person to person, but you will know if you're over exfoliating, if your skin feels starts to feel very tight, if it starts to feel dry, if anytime you're putting on a skincare product and you feel like it's burning the skin, that those are just signs of your skin barrier saying, "Hey, you're irritating me, back off." So,
Mm.
yes.
Um, is it okay? I'm guessing this is baby oil, but maybe it's body oil. And okay, it's body oil. Is it okay to mix in body oil into vanity cream? I find it a little too thick by itself," said Debbie.
Personally, I would recommend try the Vanity Cream lotion if you're not a huge fan of the cream because the formulation is different, the texture is different. But I'm not huge into mixing things up, and especially body oil, again, not knowing how much it's going to clog up your pores and stuff. So I
Mm.
would just say try the lotion, which is more water based compared to the cream.
All right. Let's see. How about Mary? Is laser treatment worth it, or is it ultimately bad for the skin because it makes it thinner and more susceptible to sun damage?
I'm so glad. Thank you, Mary, for asking this question. So this is a myth. It's not that laser. Again, when you say laser, there are thousands of different lasers out there. The hair removal laser is not the same as laser for skin rejuvenation. There's a lot of different types of laser. That's number one concept. Number two, if you're trying to use the laser to again for skin rejuvenation purpose where you're treating your pores, fine lines and all that, do your research, find a doctor or find a place where you can really trust them. And if they have like the most latest laser technologies, almost all of them, they don't thin out the skin. They can, in fact, it's the opposite. Some of them will help collagen production, so it's the opposite where they like strengthen your skin. But this is where you gotta do your research and go to places, especially if you're darker skin, you absolutely have to go to places where this is something they do on a regular basis.
Right.
Mm.
Right. I've heard go to the places where you can see true before and after pictures. Like they have like the pictures of their patients and things like that.
Yeah,
Mm.
and and this is something I wish more and more people were transparent about. Like for me, I don't do fillers on my patients or on myself, right? So if somebody comes to me and they want filler, I mean, I could probably do it because I've been trained to do that, but that is not something I do every day. So I am not gonna, that's not in the best interest of the patient. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I am treating darker skin with lasers 10 times a day. That stuff I'm comfortable with. actually, I made a post about this today because I had a patient who came to me with a complication somewhere else, and we've been helping her improve her skin. But the point is, even with my own hands, complications can happen. That's just like it's like there's always pros and cons to everything. But what I know is I know how to manage those complications. If something happens, I know what exactly to do to undo them, right? And of course, none of the complications I've ever had has been permanent, and that's the
Mm,
whole goal. You want to like use technology, use things where you know it's not going to be permanent, right?
right.
But temporary hyperpigmentation post procedure can happen, but at least I take every step possible to avoid those. And God forbid if it does happen, which is rare but can happen. In fact, if anybody tells you that they have never had complication, run. That means they have not done
Mm,
enough procedures.
mm. Let's see. Tony, got a question from a man. Tony says, for men who are entering their early 40s, what type of skin routine should they have?
Again, assuming that you have overall healthy skin, no specific concern like acne, I would emphasize on the basics, which is every single day cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen. That's like your basic. And then if you're looking for like healthy aging of the skin, you could possibly look into retinol, but not everybody can tolerate retinol. If that's the case, look for any serum or moisturizer that have peptide in it, because peptides also help stimulate collagen, because those are just natural things that over time as we get older, the reason our skin starts to sag or our skin starts to look dull is because we're losing collagen, our fat pads are moving, and those are some things you can do to kind of keep up with that loss.
All right. People still have more questions. I'll try to go through them a little fast for you guys. I'll get a couple more in. And some are redundant. Some of y'all asked like good care routine a couple times. So cool. What SPF should we be using? Says DB.
So number one, the best sunscreen is the one you're actually going to use, and that depends on the texture of the sunscreen, the color, the feel, the smell, and all of that. Anything that's SPF 30 or higher is good enough, because it's like a curve, right? Like the best protection is up to like SPF 30. After that, even if it's SPF 100, the difference in terms of actual sun protection is not that massive. The only thing is sometimes if it's SPF 100, people don't like the texture of the sunscreen. So if you're
Uh,
not really going to be using that SPF 100, there's no point buying that. So buy
right.
a sunscreen that's SPF 30 and higher. Look for both UVA and UVB protection. And the biggest thing is using the right amount of sunscreen, which even I didn't use it my whole life till I became a dermatologist, because it's the right amount is to use 2 finger lengths of sunscreen for your entire face. Most of us, we only use a very little amount, and that's not enough sun protection. So 2 finger length for your entire face. And if you're truly going to be outside, then you should be reapplying your sunscreen every 2 hours. Do I reapply sunscreen every 2 hours every day? No, I don't, because I'm mostly inside. But if you're going to be outside, you got to do it.
All right. And then Bridget says, "Are you shocked by how popular those pimple popping videos have become?"
No, people love that stuff. People love
You
that
have
stuff.
you ever thought about doing that for your content?
You know, actually, that was like one of the first videos that I posted on TikTok like 3, 4 years ago. That blew up my TikTok. Like I posted a very what I thought very mundane video of like me popping a simple pimple. I posted it at like 10 p.m. at night. I went to bed. This is 2021. I woke up with 40,000 followers overnight. That video
What?
like some multi-million views overnight. But then I don't post those videos because I maybe the stuff I talk about is different from just like
Mm,
popping pimple videos, you know.
right.
But I know if I were to pop more of those videos, I would probably gain more followers faster.
Yeah.
But I just personally, because that's not a big part of who I am or part of my practice, I don't necessarily do that. But I know they're very popular. People love that stuff.
You got integrity, Dr. T. I would have been looking on the street for some people with some problems like,
Oh my
hey, you
God.
want free pimple popping? Come on in.
Come to my clinic and spend a couple days with me. You will get so many pimple popping videos because we do that quite a bit. We do that quite a bit.
All right. This is the last question. Let me look through and see. Okay, here's one. I think a lot of people probably want to know. What's the best way to deal with dark spots becoming prominent due to the age or sun exposure?
Number one, sunscreen. Even if it's not going to treat the existing dark spots you have, it's going to slow down the rate at which you're getting new dark spots. Number one, sunscreen. Number two, there are a few ingredients you can look for in with respect to serums and stuff like that. So ingredients such as niacinamide, kojic acid, azelaic acid. I know these are fancy terms, but these are ingredients that have been shown to be effective in treating dark spots. But in reality, coming from somebody who literally takes care of folks with dark spots every single day, I can tell you this, skincare products can help to some extent. They're fantastic in preventing new spots, but they are not going to completely erase your existing spots. They can help, absolutely. If you look into my skincare regimen, I use products that are helping me, but that's not the way to 100% get rid of them. 100%, if you're trying to get rid of them, you have to look into procedures like laser, chemical peel, blah, blah, blah. And even with that, I have to constantly remind my patients, it's not a cure. It's not like a one-time thing. You then have to do maintenance, because if you promise me you're not going to get older, and if you promise me you're never going to be out in the sun, then I can tell you this is a one-time thing. But just like going to your trainer, going to your gym is not like a one-time thing. Same thing comes with all these procedures and treatments.
Well, Dr. Tia, it was great meeting you. We
you.
really appreciate you coming through and answering all the questions for us and our audience.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where you're at and how to reach you and how to follow you online, because we might have fans in your area that might actually want to come and see you.
Yeah, so I am based out of Newport Beach in California. Actually, I'm very close to the John Wayne Airport, which is the Orange County Airport, because I do have a lot of folks that kind of even fly from all parts of the country to come see me. So we are like 5 minutes from the airport. But for me, like I said, I know that even if people want to come see me in clinic, sometimes it's hard, right? Like logistically, it's hard. You might be in different parts of the country. So I try to communicate with people through social media, which honestly is like a creative outlet for me. And so you can find me on social media as Dr. Tia Paul, DrTiaPaul, on both TikTok and Instagram. And thank you for having me. Like, I consider myself very, very lucky, even though I've done 14 years of training, but I absolutely love dermatology. I love what I do every single day. I can't imagine like not seeing patients in clinic, I mean, I do a lot of the social media stuff. I work with a lot of companies. I work, do all these things, but at the end of the day, it's very important for me to actually see people in clinic. So that's why I have my own private practice where it's actually me, not like other doctors, like just me, like seeing my patients too. And part of the day, it's like, you realize as you get older, it's not just like money, fame, and all that. It's truly everything that you do on an everyday basis that brings you pure happiness, right? So when my patients are like, oh my God, Dr. Paul, like my face cleared up or these spots are gone, it does bring me a lot of happiness, because I can see the confidence, and that's why I always tell people the ultimate goal is not to have to wear makeup. You should be proud about who you are naturally.
Well, thank you for coming on. This is so fun, just so informative. We definitely learned a lot. Our audience learned a lot. And I love your story too. Coming here from India, and like going to school, practicing dermatology, all of that stuff is really cool. And just so glad you came on. Go find her, go follow her on the social medias, all that stuff, guys. And we'll be back on Saturday. Where you can, listen to us feedback. You guys are going to write comments about Dr. Paul. I almost said Dr. T. I'm from the South. So we're like Dr. first name, Miss first name, but Dr. You can write in about Dr. Paul. They're going to tell us like what they thought about this and all that stuff on Saturday. So we love all that. Until then, and then we have a movie review coming Thursday, and we have our Nerd Off podcast spinoff about nerd culture. That stuff is Friday. So if you're premium, we'll see you guys Thursday and Friday. Everybody else will see you Saturday. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Dr. Paul.
Thank you.